James's garden hasn't been very productive this year. I do have a squash over here. Where is it? I didn't see it. Where are you? There you are. It's fairly big. And this stuff's going to seed. That's good, because that's what I'm growing stuff for, is just to go to seed. Now, he has had a lot of habanero peppers, which is awesome. But this is the Freckles lettuce, and it's in flower bud again. And the flower buds look beautiful all on their own. But as you can see, I was letting them go to seed. But James has a handsome buck who comes through, and he harvested the Freckles lettuce flowers. So I don't know. We'll see if I get seeds from that. But anyway, handsome buck is accustomed to harvesting the tomatoes, so you can see there. But there's a tomato for me to harvest. But yeah, buck harvests the top of the tomatoes all the time. So we've tried to barricade him away from here, but what can you do? So I'm gonna harvest that tomato and show you. And while James is sitting down for dinner, and I'm gonna show you his dinner. So that's grilled eggplant and some Yorkshire pudding, and which is not at all what I thought it would be. And he still has his sub sandwich from this morning to eat. And I'm going to talk about Amsterdam, which got top of the stack, Southern Gospel, No Hard Feelings, The Blackening, and The Old Way. So, let's get that tomato harvest. So you may have heard my scissors snapping. That's because I definitely don't harvest these tomatoes, the big ones, with by just yanking. That's not how you harvest big tomatoes off your plant. But I would recommend, James, that you start with the sub sandwich, because you haven't touched it yet. I mean, the soup will keep. It'll keep till whenever it's sealed, right? So anyway, I'll talk about Yorkshire pudding for a minute here. It's completely different than I thought it would be. So it's not pudding-like at all. It's the first time I'd ever tried it. I'd never really thought to.
I've never seen it before.
No. And this one, they do say on the package that it is made differently than traditional. But it says it's made with vegetable oil instead of beef fat. So I suppose it does taste differently than it would normally. But But anyway, when I tried it the first time, I thought, oh, that's disgusting. But then the next time, what I did is I just stuck these in the toaster. I have a Belgian waffle, or bagel slice toaster, so it has the thicker, so it fit right in there. So that's what I did. It worked out great to heat it up. And then I thought, wow, this tastes sort of like bannock. That was my first impression of it, that it tastes like bannock, because my mom used to make bannock quite a lot. And so if you've had bannock, then you might like this. And then I thought, it kind of tastes a bit like pancakes or waffles, right? So maybe like a greasy waffle or a greasy pancake. So I thought, there's a lot of things you could do with these little things. Not only could you make, like today, I have the roasted eggplant and stuff that James can put in there to make sort of like a little sandwich or whatever, with the Sweet Million cherry tomatoes. But you could put anything in there. You could make it, you could use it for like a little meal, for an hors d'oeuvre, to hold whatever, like put some sort of sauce, like maybe tzatziki sauce, or hummus or whatever, any kind of, or pesto, whatever, and then build the flavors from there. Just a nice little hors d'oeuvre to put out at a party. And then I thought, well, because it sort of tastes like pancakes too, you could make it sweet. You could put in, a little bit of maple syrup drizzled in there with some roasted walnut pieces and whatever, right? And there's a lot of things you could do with this. So, and maybe um, some minced up apples and other fruit or whatever. So, yeah, I'm warming to the Yorkshire pudding. At first, I thought, wow, who would get this? But now I think, yeah, it's a pretty versatile thing. So, anyway, I'll get on to this stack of videos because I've been writing a lot of poetry because James hasn't been well, but I think he'll get out hiking soon.
I hope so.
He's doing a lot better, so we'll see.
Better, but still not good.
Yeah, well, the more time you spend out here, the more time you try to eat healthy food and stuff, it'll happen. Just keep on keeping on.
Mm-hmm.
Amsterdam. So this has loads of big name actors in here. You can see, well, when I showed you the thing close up, there's names all across there. Lots and lots of
I was
big
reading
names.
them upside down.
Yeah. Oh.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah. And so James likes Robert De Niro a lot. He'd probably like this movie a lot. Yeah, it was quite interesting. And it says based on facts that meet fiction, right? It was funny. I think it opened up saying some of these things actually happened or something, which is funny, right? Because, yeah.
Is
But
that Taylor Swift in there?
no, what? Oh, no, the woman on the cover? Are you asking? Oh, you're trying to read the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. There, it says Anya Taylor-Joy. I don't know who she is. Yeah. There you go. Anyway.
Taylor Swift.
No, where did you see Taylor Swift?
Second line.
Okay, let's.
Chris Rock, or whatever.
Okay, James is right. See, I didn't notice. There's a lot of people in there. And, yeah. But I am writing poetry while I watch these. So I'm mostly listening to the movies and writing poetry. I'm really not watching them. I have to admit.
Mike Myers is in.
Oh yeah, I do remember him in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I looked up occasionally. Maybe I recognize some voices.
Christian Bale.
But that's what I do. Actually, I found this years ago. I was surprised when I learned it. What I do is I liked reading nonfiction. I didn't like reading fiction stuff. But I found that if I watched fiction stuff or listened, first I found with the audiobooks, if I listened to audio, like fiction audiobooks, and I was reading nonfiction at the same time, I stayed more into reading, and so I could actually get through way more nonfiction books by listening to fiction audio. And it could have been like, I was listening to anything, just absolute garbage. A lot of fiction is, but it didn't matter what I was listening to. It kept me focused on the nonfiction stuff, and I don't know how that is. I don't know if my brain is wired differently, but all I could figure out is I think that for some reason, maybe at least my brain uses different parts of the brain are used to actually interpret different sorts of information. So with the nonfiction stuff, my brain was paying attention to it, and I could tell what was going on, whatever, as much as I cared to. And my brain was still letting me copy down notes with the nonfiction stuff, and I had my pages all written out. So I was getting through stuff just great. So I don't know. Maybe call that multitasking. I don't know. I don't know what to call it, but it worked out better for me, and so that's what I do. Lately I've been writing a lot of Silas stories, and some of the stuff is not that fun to think about, but how I write things that aren't that fun to think about is luckily James taught me how to write poetry. And I've found that with writing poetry, if you have a regular any kind of rhythm pattern. It could be da 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 da, and whatever rhythm you choose. If it's something that your brain can follow along, I found that that too helps distract one part of the brain from another and whatever. And so the rhythm actually helps me get through writing about things that I don't want to think about, painful things or whatever. So that's another little tip for you if you want to think about things like that. So anyway, with the poetry that I'm writing right now, it's nonfiction stuff. And it's not very fun to think about, but if I'm slamming through some fiction, or in this case, some things actually happened, which was fun, then yeah, it works out really well for me. That's what I've been doing. And it helps, especially when I'm already stressed out, when I'm thinking about, oh, worry about the future, whatever. You know, it's not fun. Anytime somebody you care about gets sick and you're caring for them and you're thinking, oh, what's going to happen, you know. But he's doing much better now, and I'm not so worried. Anyway, so back to this story. This had some interesting actual historical content in it, like even just the thinking points. You know, they talked about mandatory sterilization procedures and stuff like that. And hey, you know, that's part of not that long ago history here in Alberta. That was happening to people with mental disorders and stuff like that. So it's something to think about, and we should think about it. And these actors did a good job of making you want to think about it. So, top of the stack, good job, guys. Southern Gospel. Wow, some good music in this. I loved it. It was great to listen to. The story, whatever. But again, this was it's something people should think about. There was writing at the end of it saying, yeah, I can't remember what the name of the church was, the Dream Church or something. I don't know. It had information about it and stuff like that, right? So, and I didn't know about this thing. It's good to learn about this. And yeah, I thought the actors did a really good job. They certainly did a great job with the music. That was some catchy stuff. And I think anybody would like watching this, honestly. No hard feelings. I thought this would get top of the stack. I love her. Who doesn't love Jennifer Lawrence? She's so beautiful. And I mean, in this one, she showed us some full frontal nudity while she was beating up on some kids, which was funny. And so, I mean, you'd think that would warrant top of the stack, but no, these ones were just much better. And honestly, this one was a little bit kind of creepy. I guess the young man, yeah, it's funny, you know, once you get older and you think, I remember when I went to study horticulture, and I was at school, and there were a lot of older people, a lot of people my age. It was a big range, you know, honestly. There were some people with white hair that were studying horticulture. So it was a big range, and I really felt like, wow, you know, now I'm an adult, and I'm like the same as everyone else. It's just like you jump from childhood into adulthood, and there you're an adult, you know. And once I got older, you know, I went to university to study, to do a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture and stuff. And I, everyone around, I was like, oh, I'm old, you know, all these people that they're just children. And it's funny seeing somebody that's, you know, he's supposed to be 19 years old, and he looks 19 years old. You know, he looks like a kid. And so here she is, she's 32 in this. And she looks too old to be with him, right? And it's a funny sort of movie. Anyway, but there were some things about it I found kind of creepy. Anyway, it was still funny. The Blackening. This had some funny stuff. So this is We Can't All Die First, it says. The first great horror comedy of the post-Get Out era. So it says on the back, you are a black character in a horror movie. Can you survive? And it's funny. But, I mean, there's some things in here that are a bit whatever. You know, like, I did like the way that it ends up differently than you would expect it does. I don't want to give away the ending, but it gets you thinking a little bit. And what with the games that they're playing, you know, they're forced to play a twisted board game, it says, whatever. And the games they're playing, they have to answer American trivia questions that are like African American trivia questions. And they're having to think about these things, and you think, yeah, I have no idea what the answer to any of these things are, right? And so that gets you thinking, maybe I should know a little bit more about these things, right? Because, so, anyway, so there's that, which made this an interesting show to watch. And then there's one point where there's a Caucasian, I think it was Drew Carey shows. I think he was a friend in the Drew Carey show. Anyway, I can't remember. But anyway, he plays a police officer, and he's a Caucasian man, and he looks totally harmless and everything. So he comes to help them, and they're in his police car, and he says, let me in, and they're like, should we let him in, you know, and they don't want to trust him because he's this white police officer, right? But it turns out they should have trusted him. He was a good guy. But, so there's that, right? It gets you thinking about things. Anyway, I just, it was a horror movie. It wasn't that funny. Whatever. I haven't, I mean, I can't think of horror movies that I've watched where, like, I didn't really think about whether people were like one ethnicity or another or anything like that. I mean, with horror movies, I just thought, okay, well, the slut's going to get it. But aside from that, you know, and when they split up, well, that's a bad idea. But I never really thought about this, so I'll have to pay attention a little closer watching horror movies. I don't know if there's something there. The Old Way stars Nicolas Cage, and this is not a good movie. It is better than the movie that is in the previews that starred Nicolas Cage. It was terrible. So, I don't remember what that was called, but gosh, it was awful. But this one just didn't make sense, you know, like why does he burn his barn and house and stuff? Like, it didn't make any sense. So then, I mean, whatever. But if you like Western movies, Nicolas Cage did an okay job as that, I guess. And there's a reason they write in some sort of explanation for why his daughter is a bad actress. So it kind of works. So they kind of dealt with the problem. Well, how do we deal with child actors? Well, there you go. We dealt with it. So that was interesting enough, but the movie was not. It wasn't worth watching. Do you want to talk about anything?
Yeah, Westerns.
Westerns.
Yeah.
Okay, James is going to talk about Westerns.
The only people who seem to care about Westerns anymore are like French movie critics.
Oh, really? Are they the only people watching Westerns?
Yeah, because it's
Interesting.
stereotypical narrative.
Oh.
French folks, on average, at least from France, just can't get over the idea that French people aren't the ultimate arbiters of civilization.
Yeah.
So what they're not doing is stereotyping Americans as being, Western.
Westerns. Okay.
Yeah, I used to be big on Westerns.
Yeah. Well, I guess my dad was too. So
Same
yeah,
generation.
a lot of kids
And
that age, I think. Like
yeah, they were big in the 50s.
Yeah.
And, oh, wow, that's over 2 generations.
Well, that would have been the Lone Ranger, I guess, right? Everybody would have. All the
It
kids
was
that age.
things like Wagon Train,
Oh, okay.
Lone Ranger. Clint Eastwood. I think that's how he busted into the media.
Mm.
Not so much movies, but TV. So, I say Wagon Train. Have Gun Will Travel. A Paladin. That might be the same thing. James Garner, that's how we busted into things. That might have been Have Fun Travel, I'm not sure which, but there seems like every other drama, TV drama was. Excuse me, some sort of Western. And so Paladin was chess. It was a chess piece, black chess piece maybe. Rawhide, another one. Guy who had a sawed up. I guess it was a shotgun or something like that. It's Chuck Connors. I keep forgetting what the Clint Eastwood thing was. He was pretty close to my favorite. Weirdly enough, I didn't know who Clint Eastwood was. It was just that was in 1959 when I was exposed to things, and so I would have been 5 years old, just turned 5. But he was, handsome, whatever. And it just went on and on. Wagon Train was a bit old. There was a older guy who led the wagon train. He was getting on in years. So, and I guess there'd been a tradition, a Hollywood tradition, Western movies, stuff like that. But a bunch of French critics, all I want to do is and it's left-wingers who come from that side of things. They always want to talk about Birth of a Nation by a guy called Griffiths or something like that. And, this dates back. It must have been very silent film. There's supposed to be some sort of pro-Ku Klux Klan story, whatever. So, Birth of a Nation in the United States, and somehow or another that's supposed to represent American movies. It's like, it's something you've never even heard of, possibly, with this. Yeah. It's just not important to America.
No.
And stuff like that.
Watch this guy back up. Getting rid of him.
Yeah. I'm going to have to, this stuff, I left it too long. Closed up. It's gone. Bad.
The sandwich?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not kidding.
I just brought it this morning.
Yeah. The tomatoes gone bad.
Well, eat the sandwich with the bread.
I will, but I'll have to eat it. Just look at the
Are you sure they look fine?
I tasted.
Okay.
Okay. It was bad.
Okay. I could rinse off the peppers if you want. You don't want it?
I should stay away from it. I eat all the
Lettuce?
yeah, I'm hoping it's okay.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll wash them and fry them up or something.
Yeah, something like that. Sorry, I
No,
should've
that's
eaten
okay.
it,
It's, you eat what you can eat, and then
yeah. I gotta remember if something goes up like that, to heat up. That's what happened.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so maybe I can get you to take the bread back.
You. What do you want me to do?
Take the bread back.
You don't need it then.
No, I've still got some.
Okay.
And I've got plenty for the rest of the day.